Saugatuck Sanderlings. As Dad and I headed towards Saugatuck, located 30 miles south of Grand Haven, we were excited. This was going to be the second time we were going to complete a big section of the lakeshore with a visit to a lighthouse. We had already reached and passed our northern goal of visiting lighthouses up to Traverse City, as mentioned. And now we had expanded our travels to the south way beyond Grand Haven. In fact, by this time, we had visited every lighthouse all the way down to the Indiana border except one. This was going to be our last southern light. The first time we had completed a large section, up at the lighthouse in Frankfort, the two ducks had welcomed us and helped us to celebrate a substantial accomplishment. We wondered if anything amazing would also happen with the completion of this section. When we arrived to Saugatuck, our goal was to make it to the northern pier of the Kalamazoo River, at the point where the river flows into Lake Michigan. We chose the northern pier because our map of lighthouses showed that was the primary light for boats to see out on Lake Michigan with the North Pier Head light. However, the South Pier Head light, located just across the river from the North Pier Head light, was the exact same simple design. The only difference was that the South Pier headlight was white and painted with a thick red stripe, while the North Pier headlight was white and painted with a thick green stripe. As we drove into town and followed our map, we passed right by the Saugatuck Dune Rides, where my second grade Rosie Mountain class had ridden in awesome big trucks without roofs as we traveled up and down the dunes. It was so much fun. We continued on our way and came to a gate that blocked the road that led out to the green light. A sign at the gate told us that the area was a private community and that we would not be allowed access. This meant that we were not going to be able to reach the green light. Up at Harbor Point, in a somewhat similar situation, we had been very lucky to make it out to the Little Traverse Lighthouse, and it had taken us 2 different trips to make it out to Big Red, the lighthouse in Holland, which is also in a private community. Big Red is available for viewing on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the spring and summer from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Also, Little Traverse Lighthouse at Harbor Point has, in the past, occasionally had public tours. This time, though, with the gate being locked, we are not going to be so lucky. We are not going to make it out to the green light. We decided if we could make it out to the red light. We headed over to Oval Beach, the main beach in Saugatuck. Oval Beach is located on the south side of the Kalamazoo River. The beach offers access to an area of shoreline that leads out to the red light. The difficulty was that, by this time, it was starting to get late for us because we still had to drive home. And it was a long walk down the beach to get to the red light pier. When we arrived to the beach, we looked north and noticed that the red light was a tiny speck in the distance. It looked like it was many miles away. No one else was walking down the beach, and it looked like this was going to be a very difficult hike. The high Lake Michigan levels meant that we were not going to have much space between the incoming waves on one side and the beach dunes on the other. Even so, we were very eager to try to complete this portion of our travels. We set off on the narrow, soft-sanded beach towards the red light station. Of course, during the course of our walk, we unknowingly passed right by the location of what used to be the town of Singapore. Singapore was a busy lumber town in the 1870s until the supply of trees in the area ran out. People then started to move away from Singapore, and the town was eventually buried by sand dunes. The walk definitely was long and difficult, but we did eventually make it out to the red light pier. We were so excited to make it. When we arrived, we saw that the first third of the pier was made up of nothing but gigantic rocks as big as a refrigerator. Dad went out first to make sure that we could safely hop from rock to rock in order to make it out to the red light. Dad said that we could, but I was kind of nervous because I could see the waves of Lake Michigan as they passed between the bottom of the rock that we were going to be stepping over. We hopped from rock to rock over Lake Michigan as carefully as we could. It was really exciting. When we finally got out to the end of the rocks, we carefully hopped over to the main cement pier. We joyfully celebrated as we walked out towards the red light. This was the easiest part of the day's journey. The Kalamazoo River was on our right and Lake Michigan was on our left. We knew that we were going to make it to the light and finally complete the southern portion of our summer adventures. As we walked, we noticed some strange birds that we had never seen before. Well, actually, we had never seen them before. We had first started noticing them down at the Indiana border and at Michiana Beach. Since then, we had seen them at the St. Joseph Pier and the South Haven Pier, and now we were seeing them again. These mystery birds seemed to really like us. We now know that those birds are called Sanderlings. Sanderlings are wading birds that love the high Lake Michigan water levels. That is because the high water level brings the Sanderlings their favorite Lake Michigan food right up onto the flat cement platforms on lighthouse piers where the Sanderlings can easily get at it. We walked a little further and made it out to the red light. I reached out and touched the red light, and that made it official. We had covered every part of the lakeshore that we could reach from Grand Haven all the way down to the Indiana border. Dad and I felt a tremendous feeling of accomplishment. We did our We Did It celebration, of course. And we jumped and shouted as loud as we could. And it didn't matter how loud we were because no one was around to hear us. We celebrated for a long time, and we celebrated just a short distance away from our original goal, the Green Light, which was located on a similar pier over on the other side of the Kalamazoo River. By this point, we knew that jumping up and down can get tiring. Dad wanted to sit down at the base of the red light and just enjoy the view while being grateful for this experience and all that we had been able to do. We were really lucky to go on so many adventures that summer. We sat down for about 5 minutes. During that time, the Sanderlings hopped over and started to hang out nearby. I leaned over and whispered to Dad, it would be great if they led us from rock to rock back to shore. We stood up and started to walk back down the pier towards the shore. We were full of all of those brain chemicals Dad always talks about. I even know them by name. Dopamine is accomplishment, oxytocin, love, serotonin, gratitude, and endorphins, exercise. As we started to walk, 2 Sanderlings hopped in front of us and started to walk down the 50-yard pier. I couldn't believe it. As we approached the big rocks, the 2 Sanderlings hopped onto the rocks. Then they guided us from one safe rock to the next. One Sanderling led Dad, and the other one led me. They seemed to know exactly which rocks were the safest to step on. We followed them all the way to the shore. It was incredible, and it was not a short distance. There was no question that the Sanderlings had led us safely all the way from the red light back to shore, just like I had hoped they would do. It was incredible, and it reminded us of the ducks up in Frankfurt. Dad couldn't even believe it. As Dad and I excitedly talked about what had just happened, 2 other Sanderlings flew in and landed near the 2 Sanderlings that had led us back to the beach. Then, all at once, the 4 birds flew away and headed off on their next incredible adventure. We jumped for joy as we did our We Did It dance. Dad and I then sat down at the river and continued to talk about the Sanderlings. We were amazed at what had just happened. We just couldn't believe that. Once again, nature seemed to have spoken so clearly to us at a time when we were feeling grateful and celebrating the good times in life. We headed off towards Oval Beach on a voyage that was that seemed to be much shorter on the way back than it was on the way out because we were so happy. I really enjoyed the trip back along the beach. The experience that we were having was perfect as the sun started to dip towards the water. Along the way, we stopped and did our dance a few more times. It probably was the happiest time of our summer travels. When we got back to Oval Beach, we watched a beautiful sunset as I swung on the swings high above Lake Michigan. In the end, we did not achieve our initial goal, which was to make it out to the North Pier's green light. Instead, something even better happened. By adjusting our goal and adventuring to the South Pier's red light, we were lucky enough to have an experience with the Sanderlings that we will never forget.